Last year, I checked out an upcoming MMORPG called Embers Adrift. Now, this was a low fantasy MMO that put players into a pretty dangerous world. Players will create their own character and explore massive dungeons, large zones filled with friends and foes, and learn about the mysterious power of Ember. Now, when I had my hands-on session with the developers, we got to explore some of these zones, collect some loot, fight some creatures, and we even dove into this huge dungeon system full of bandits, and I had a really good time. It felt like an old school like tabletop RPG where you get your band of adventurers and you go in and everybody sort of has a role. You know, it's your job to tank, it's your job to CC, it's your job to heal, and it was just a fun time, something different. Now fast forward to 2023 and Embers Adrift has been released and has experienced some pretty cool updates both to the game and to the price to get into the game. Now I wanted to check back in on this one and give an update on what you can expect to see these days. I would also like to thank Embers Adrift for keeping me in the loop on updates and for sponsoring this video. So let's go ahead and get into the changes. So first, let's talk about their pricing. This has changed. The box price for the game is now $29.99 and their subscription has been reduced to $9.99 per month. And if you buy the game, you get a free month included. So Embers Adrift does use the subscription model, which honestly I prefer in today's day and age. I'd rather pay a monthly fee for a game rather than deal with cash shops, monetization, all that extra mess. So this just works better for me. I'm also an older gamer, so that's something to take note of as well. So what have they actually added to the game? Well, first up, we have a brand new level 30 plus dungeon called the Forgotten Depths. Now this is being released in 3 phases. Phase 1 was released on March 28th. Now remember, these dungeons are huge. They're massive, massive areas. It can take quite some time to fully explore and clear these things out. This isn't like your typical WoW dungeon where it's on rails, you blast through it in 20 minutes. These are going to offer a lot more depth, places to explore, enemies to fight, and places to see. So go into these understanding it is going to truly be an adventure. So what is Forgotten Depths? Well, this is a network of caverns and ruins that might have been a great subterranean city in the past. Now, word has spread not to wander near its entrance because strange figures have been lurking nearby and snatching up any wanderer that comes near. Now, rumor has it that a banished cabal of former Academy philosophers have actually made this their base of operations for experimenting on humans using Ember, which sounds horrific. So very cool stuff. I like kind of the lore that surrounds this. But the thing is, a new dungeon isn't the only thing that you get to explore as part of this update. They've also added to the world. The game has received its first look at Grimstone Canyons, which are a set of red-walled canyons north of Dryfoot, which are home to the Grimstone Marauders. Now, these Marauders are intense. They are ruthless. They're going to do anything to get more of what they call slag rock, which is their term for ember ore, which who knows what they're doing with it. God knows what they're doing with it. But they appear to be in collusion with a new faction of something called the Others. Now, the Others have been seen wandering their territory from afar, and these are interesting creatures. They can actually harness ember, which is very interesting. Now, the canyons are a dangerous place. If you don't pay attention, you're going to get ambushed by basically any form of wildlife. There's the fearsome redmanes, there's deadly scorpions, there's obviously the marauders. So don't just go waltzing into the canyons thinking, hey, this is going to be a cakewalk, let's go in there and get some loot. That's not exactly what's going to happen. Be aware of your surroundings. So the first part of Grimstone Canyons has been released on February 28th, and just like Forgotten Depths, it's going to be released in 3 phases, so there is more to come for both the dungeon and the region. Now, across the world, including these 2 regions, are brand new monsters to fight as well. You have Slagjacks, Redmanes, Stonecoats, Nocturnes, Scorpions, Muck Rippers, Pterodiles, and like I mentioned earlier, a new faction of enemies called Others who use Ember to empower their attacks. And remember when I said the game is low fantasy? So that's partly true. Just partly true. The game actually starts out as seemingly low fantasy, but part of the story is the discovery of Ember and its true power, like we just mentioned. So here we can see some of that unfolding as these dark alchemists have discovered how to bend Ember to their will in order to unleash devastating attacks. You can see here we have some spells flying off, and this is the first introduction of magic into the game. And the high fantasy part of the story is starting to ramp up, and players will soon be able to see more and more of this. So there's a lot happening. So if you're somebody who checked out Embers Adrift like me, that was closer to launch or even before launch, this game has evolved quite a bit. And I was very surprised to check back in and go, wow, they've added a ton of stuff. So if you're somebody who's a fan, I would highly encourage you to check it back out. But we also have some quality of life improvements I need to touch on really quickly. So the first one is the gel system, which is the group elevated leveling system. This allows lower level players to group up with higher level players with increased effectiveness. So remember, you always have that friend, right, that sort of shows up late to the party and you're already level 20 and you're like, hey man, you should play with us. We'll power level you. You're a level 10, sit about 200 yards behind me and I'm going to go kill a bunch of stuff and get you a bunch of experience. And it's not very fun for the level 1, right? You're just kind of standing there. So this right here helps get that level 1 more involved and be able to actually contribute when you're out doing your adventure and all that fun stuff. So I'm really glad to see this thing get added. They've also increased the bank and bag inventory space for more loot, which is obviously hard to argue against. And then they improved the social panel UI, including a looking for group tool, a friends list, and guild list filtering. So a lot of kind of user interface type of stuff that makes it honestly better. And those are all of the new kind of big updates that have come to Embers Adrift. And with the gaming doldrums about to hit, I do plan on diving back in to see all of this new stuff ready to go in the game and see what exactly it adds to the overall experience. Now, if any of this sounds incredibly interesting to you or mildly interesting, check out the link in the description below to learn more about the game, as well as where to purchase it, how to start playing, all of that fun stuff. But let me know in the comments section below. Have you played Embers Adrift? Is it something that you're interested in? Let me know. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Vulkan, and I'll talk to you guys next time.